jeans, black nails, and a studded Gucci belt. Shawty left me all alone, and I hate the way it felt. Yeah, I'm crazy, I should listen to my mom and get some help. I'm a legend, when I die, I'll be the flyest one in hell. Ripped jeans, black nails, and a studded Gucci belt. Ripped jeans.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to my poker channel, and today we're playing in the biggest game I've ever played in. We got invited to play on Live at the Bike, a 5, 10, 20 game. It's gonna be big. Minimum buy-in is 1,000, max 3K. So I think I'm gonna buy in for around 2,500. Bring 2 bullets with me. Hopefully it goes well. Wish us luck. Okay, in this first hand, the straddle is on for $20, making the game 5, 10, 20 instead of just 5, 10. This is definitely the biggest game I've ever played in. I've only played 5, 10, and adding the mandatory straddle definitely makes this pretty intense. I'm on the button with Queen 9 offsuit and under the gun plus 1 limps, the hijack limps. I call on the button, small blind makes a call, big blind calls, and under the gun calls. And we're off to the flop, which comes out 8, 5, 4 rainbow. It flops us 2 overs to the board and some backdoor straight draw opportunities. I'm still feeling out this table because the game just started, so I don't really know everyone's ranges. Luckily, it checks all the way around. The turn is the 6 of spades, bringing in a gut shot straight draw for me. Small blind checks, and the big blind just got stacked a few hands before, so I think he's on tilt. He leads out for $60, folds to the hijack, and he makes the call. I still have 2 overs to the board, and if a 7 comes down, I have a feeling I can get stacks in, so I make the call, and the small blind calls as well. This is definitely a more loose call by me and not the most optimal play. The river comes down the 9 of spades, bringing in the backdoor flush draw and a 1-liner to the straight, but it does give me top pair. Big blind leads out for 200, and it folds back to me. For the price, I feel like I'm being baited into making the call. I don't have any crazy hands, but this game really has only been playing for 10 minutes, so this player can easily just be on tilt, barreling away. I'm in the tank for a little bit, trying to figure out what type of combinations of hands this player might have, and I honestly have no idea. I think I'm losing to more of a 2-pair type holding rather than a straight or a flush. So eventually, after some thought, I flick in the $200, and I am shown the horrible news that he has the nut straight. That's good.
Call anyway.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, you got your card on your chip, yeah?
In this next hand, I just reload for an extra $500, and it folds to me in under the gun plus 3 with Queen Jack offsuit. I decide to make a play and raise it up to $50. It folds back to the small blind, and she makes a 3-bet to the sizing of $125. After the 3-bet, the big blind seems to be a little concerned and upset with the sizing. He doesn't even want to let it go, but eventually makes the fold. Under the gun goes back to under the gun, and under the gun decides pretty quickly to throw in the calling chip. The flop comes out, I call right behind him, and we are off to a flop.
Ball here to 125, Justin.
The flop is a good one, coming out 6 Jack Queen rainbow, flopping me 2-pair right off the bat. This is going to be a monster hand. Small blind decides to lead out for $200 right away and pump this pot up. Under the gun is thinking about making the call, but eventually 3 bets to a large sizing of 525. I feel like I'm against ace jack or ace queen type hands and the possible set. I was concerned that under the gun might have a set like pocket jacks or pocket queens, but after his large size 3-bet, I don't know why he would play it so aggressive. After I realized that I have blockers for both of those combinations, I don't really feel that concerned anymore and decide to put max pressure and jam for $2,300. The small blind thinks about it for a while and decides to go all in as well, but I do have recovered. The big blind is thinking about it. He seems pretty disgusted by the spot, but doesn't seem like he's that willing to call. He eventually makes a fold, and we can't run it more than once because the jackpot is in play, and we both show, and she flips over pocket aces. We have to fade all 6s and any ace to scoop the entire pot.
Nope. Queen Jack's gonna hold.
He pop covers. Yeah, he covers.
In this next hand, we decided to do a $50 bomb pot. It's where we all put in $50 and go straight to the flop. I literally have no idea how to play these hands because ranges are so damn wide. But the flop comes out 8, 9, 10, and I'm in the big blind with 9, 7 suited. I flop middle pair and an open-ended straight draw. I want to deny equity from a lot of two-pair type holdings, so I lead out for 175. Under the gun doesn't think too long and makes the call, and it folds over to under the gun +3, and she calls as well, and it folds around. So we're off to the turn, which is the ace of spades. Like I said, I don't know how to properly assess these situations, so I elect on just checking. I wouldn't want to bet and get in a spot where someone 3-bets large over me. Under the gun +1 bets $420, and +3 calls pretty fast. So at this point, I'm pretty concerned at this point. Someone could easily have me dominated with a massive straight, and if my open-ender comes in and a jack comes through, a queen will easily have me super crushed. So for the price, it isn't the worst call in the world, but even my straight comes in, I still don't feel good about it. After a while, I'm in the tank, I'm smiling and laughing about how I think this is super fucked, and I end up folding, and of course, the jack comes in on the river, and I would have been good. You hate to see it.
Two pair, but it's 4 to a straight.
Yeah, I would have won. Oddly enough, I would have won.
It all shows ace king, turned an ace.
I go a little card dead for like 20 minutes and finally wake up to a hand of pocket nines in the cutoff, under the gun +3 limps, and the player to my left decides to pump it up to 110. In position, I feel good, and trying to bank a 9 on the flop, there's a lot of good cards that can work for me, so I make the call. Under the gun makes the call as well, and everyone else folds. The flop comes out jack, ace, ace. This flop definitely favors the initial pre-flop raiser. We get none of this board. Luckily, it just checks around, so I get a free card. The turn is a blank, not changing much though. The small blind checks, but the hijack, after some thought, decides to bet $200. I can very easily be dominated, but in my head at the time, I had this gut feeling that he's trying to just take the pot down after the action checks through on the flop. I know that's a pretty horrible thing to hear, but so I decided this is my spot and decided to put pressure on all bluffs and 3-bet to $500. Small blind folds very quickly, and I knew right as I put that bet in, I was just fucked. That was a horrible play by me. Guy asked me how much I'm playing behind, so that makes me feel even better. Luckily, he just calls, and I get to go for a free river. I'm pretty much shutting down if I don't bank a 9 here, and I don't. Which surprises me, though, is the hijack checks, and I just check it right on back. Horrible play by me, just punting off money. The next interesting hand, we're in a bomb pot again for $50. I'm in the big blind with jack 8 offsuit, and the flop comes down 8-2-9, flopping me middle pair. For some reason, I elect on leading out for $250, folding out a lot of just random hands. Unfortunately, we have a lot of takers. Under the gun calls, under the gun +2 calls, and under the gun +3 also calls. Luckily, I don't have to think too hard when a jack comes in on the turn, giving me 2 pair. I'm super happy with my disguise top 2. I want to put pressure on any straight or flush draws and decide to lead out for $500. Under the gun doesn't think too long when making the call, and under the gun +2, to my surprise, jams all in for $2,600, which pretty much is the same size stack as me. Under the gun +3 is super torn on whether he should call or not, which makes me feel good that he's holding blockers to a flush or straight that I might be up against. I tell myself that the jack is the best turn possible for me, and at the moment, I'm losing to only sets and literally one straight combination, which is Queen 10. I can't even really be too concerned with Queen 10 because that means she would have to float a gut shot on the flop.
Justin quickly calls.
Under the gun folds, and unfortunately, we're showing the fucking tragic news that she does have Queen 10, and we're soul crushed.
Whoa, Jerry would have hit the river.
Oh.
In this next hand, I'm in under the gun +2 with 9-7 offsuit. It folds to me, and I just limp in, and we end up going heads up to the flop against the button, and the flop comes out Queen 2-3, all diamonds. It goes check, check, giving me a flush draw. And the turn brings in the 7 of clubs, giving me a pair, which is honestly not the worst card. It gives me more outs. I want to rep that I have a monster like an ace or king of diamonds. So I put pressure on hands like ace queen. I lead out for 175 and she makes the call. The river, unfortunately, is a bad one for me, which is the ace of diamonds. I can no longer represent that I have an ace, and I only really show that I have a king or a jack of diamonds. I still decided to go with the story and decide on a sizing that looks like a value bet of $350. Thinking back on it, I'm honestly not too upset with my sizing here. It looks pretty strong and puts mid-range diamonds to the test. She goes into the tank for a while and talks about how like she really wants to fold this hand, and I don't know where I'm at. Like I think my 7 of diamond flush might be good and my ace queen analysis might be correct, thinking that she might actually fold 2 pair. So part of me really wants her to call. I don't really put her on any types of diamonds here, but in the end she ends up calling and she has a 10 of diamonds. That's too bad. I've been losing a lot of hands here, so I want to show that I've actually won a hand where the button decides to raise to $200 with 7-2, and I'm in the small blind, and I jam with ace-king, and I finally take something down. This is my last hand I'm going to review, and I'm under the gun +1 with ace-9 offsuit. Under the gun limps, I just limp in, and under the gun +2 is Kristy Arnett, a popular poker content creator, and she makes the call as well. +3 calls, button calls, small blind calls, and we're off to the flop. The flop is a good one for us. It's ace 4-3 rainbow. It checks to me, and with my top pair, decent kicker, I decided to bet $75 to build the pot up a little bit. Kristy doesn't think too long and calls, and the big blind calls. We're off to the turn, and it's pretty good. We get the ace of spades giving me trips. I'm not too concerned with big hands like ace king, ace queen, or ace jack because this was a multi-way limped pot. I feel confident with my hand, and when I'm checked to, I go with a value sizing of 125. Kristy calls, and the big blind gets out of there pretty quickly. The river is an 8 of spades, bringing in the backdoor flush draw, but I'm really not too concerned about it. I don't want to miss out on value and decide to bet $400. Kristy thinks about it for a second, and she decides to do something I didn't expect at all and jam my remaining $380 in. I snap call it, and I get shown the 3-out disaster.
Just gonna show him
Oh.
that beat.
You're gonna burn bad.
All right, boss. Good to meet you.
This is just Kristy's day.
Guido, by the way.
Let's find somewhere to sit and talk real quick. Okay, just got out of the game. Jeez, man, that was brutal. That last hand was like, so here are my like raw thoughts. I know like in this channel I've had a lot of winning sessions so far. Well, I've only uploaded 2 videos and they're all winning sessions so far, and this was I wish it went better, man. That last hand where I got 3-outed, that's when you definitely call it a day. I don't even know if I'm tilted or I'm just, I don't know. Welcome back to my channel. You know what sucks the most about this is that my parents were watching the live stream and just watching me get fucking killed. Jesus Christ.
That's the key inside most.
Thank you, man. Get me out of here. Guess I'm gonna have to come back. Fuck. All right. I don't know if I need to explain it. I'm in for 6K, out for 0. See you guys hopefully next week.
I get hell when I'm rolling. I get lost in the moment, lost myself to